Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Wayne County Chambers podcast, For the Record. We want to say a special thank you to our sponsors, Sport Durst of Goldsboro, Goldsboro Builders Supply, and Professional Data Management. The Sport Durst team is ready to get you into a beautiful new Volkswagen. Offering open and honest pricing on every vehicle and service, Sport Durst of Goldsboro understands the value of your time and dollars. Providing quality building materials since 1953, Goldsboro Builders Supply is your premier destination for custom designs and excellent service to builders and contractors in Wayne County and surrounding areas. Professional Data Management offers specialized service and technologies designed to help you gain maximum reimbursements for the valuable services that your office provides. Another huge thank you to our in-kind sponsors, Daniels Furniture, University Lights of Goldsboro, and Johnson Carpet One, who together worked hard to make our beautiful podcast set what you see today. And for the record, we're glad you're here.
How are you?
What's up? How's it going?
Oh, my
Fantastic.
goodness.
Great.
I'm so glad to be here with this crowd today. We are on location. It's a very different looking spot for us, very different place. We are at Walnut Creek Country Club. And so thank you, Dava Rose. Shout out to Walnut Creek. Yeah. Shout out to Dava and her staff. They've been so great to our team. But we are here because we have some special footage we want to get today, I think, of our friends in the kitchen, because we want to talk about food. And because we want to talk about food, we thought we would bring some experts in. Don't you guys feel like experts?
Oh, absolutely. I do.
Sure, yeah.
Way.
My favorite hobby.
Yeah. So
Food is life.
Food is life.
For sure.
So why don't we start with you guys just telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, who you're with, and maybe how you got there. Does that work? We'll start
Sounds good.
maybe with you, Christal.
So, yes, I'm Christal Smith. I work for the Cooperative Extension as the Farmers Market Manager. I grew up in a small beach town in Florida, so I didn't know anything about agriculture beyond you ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It wasn't a discussion in my household. But I moved to North Carolina after high school, and I started to really be involved in the environment, your carbon footprint on this earth. I would recycle, and all those little things led me to this path of now I'm in the world of agriculture, and it truly is my calling per se, because I enjoy seeing the impact and advocating for the impact our farmers have on the world, because it's a big one.
I am Melissa Kilpatrick. I'm the Community Relations Representative for Mount Olive Pickle Company. And I have been there for just under 4 years with the company. I grew up in Wilmington and met my husband there, who is from Seven Springs. And we kind of met in the middle. He worked in Raleigh. I worked in Wilmington. So we made Mount Olive home. And prior to working for Mount Olive, I worked for an Irish company. And during COVID, things kind of stopped completely. Travel stopped. So I found myself with new opportunities and a job posted for consumer relations at Mount Olive. And I was lucky enough to get it. And that's kind of where I started. And now it has grown to doing things like this. I get to go talk to kids about where their food comes from, how pickles are made. I also help with planning community events to spread awareness for agriculture, like the North Carolina Pickle Festival, which we have coming up April 27th. Hopefully everyone will be there. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Us and like 40,000 other people.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Upwards.
a huge event. Too.
It is. It's grown
Huge. Sure is.
immensely last couple of years.
Shout out to the Mount Olive
Yes.
Pickle Festival.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, I'm Carl Lewis, owner of Carl and Shell's Grill Room, along with my wife, Michelle. And I got into cooking and all by being around John Boy and Billy. I met them, and they endorsed my barbecue sauce. And,
Which is called what?
John Boy and Billy grilling sauce.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into competition barbecue cooking, and what led me to that, too, the inspiration was my dad, because he was always cooking pigs, chickens on the grill every Sunday after church. So that got me into cooking. My mom cooked in the kitchen. I always helped her. And then I went into the competition world, met Myron Mixon, Tuffy Stone. I got to cook with some of the top names of the barbecue people in the world. So that's what got me to there. And then my wife and I decided we wanted to try the restaurant business. So, and I'm a beef eater, so I wanted a steak restaurant. You know, everybody's got barbecue. There's a barbecue joint on every corner in North Carolina. So I wanted to go with a steak restaurant. So that's how Carl and Chelle's came about.
Yeah. And having consumed your steaks,
Thank you.
I got to say, it'll make you swing on somebody. It is delicious.
Well, we got a great product, and we got great customers like you and so many others that come in each and every day.
So let's, we'll start maybe with some questions for you then, because as a restaurant owner, I guess I want you to think about, you shared somehow you were influenced to get into it. Can you take us through that process of, because you almost have to be, I almost say a glutton for punishment for people who want to own a restaurant, but how do you go from, really liking to cook, really enjoying cooking? Like, how did you get inspired to move into actually owning a restaurant?
Well, like I say, my dad got me into outdoor cooking, which then led me to the competition world of barbecue cooking. And by being in the competition world of barbecue cooking, I was from state to state, and I was in and out of a lot of restaurants. And that was intriguing to me. And just talking to different people in the restaurant world, what I like to see is people come in and enjoy a meal. I mean, like when I invite people over to my house, whether I eat or not, it's about them enjoying the product that I've prepared for them, put in front of them. It makes me feel good when they're enjoying it. And so that is my drive. People loving their food, just like these people here, I'm sure. I mean, they love for people to come in and enjoy this product, and she loves helping people out there at the farmer's market. I love it. I love feeding people. I love seeing people enjoy.
Putting a smile on people's face. Yeah,
absolutely.
And, what a great way to explain that. And I guess that never gets old, probably. I mean,
it never gets old, man, because every time you come in and I'm in there, my wife's in there, we walk around talking to people, and when they tell you they enjoy it, and I'll tell you a little thing. I was at Johnson Wells in Charlotte. I was doing this barbecue competition, and the class is going on in there. Myron Mixon is there. I'm cooking ribs. I've been asked to cook ribs for 25 of the chefs, up and coming chefs. Well, I'm up on my rig cooking. I got my ribs going. And I heard this guy, somebody come up to me and said, can I come up on your trailer and check out the ribs that you're cooking for the class? I said, sure, come on up. And when I turned around, it was Emeril Lagasse. I had no idea he was there. I said, whoa. I said, absolutely. Come on. So he came up. I opened my doors to my cooker. He said, man, they're beautiful. So he said, we'll be inside. He said, when are you going to be ready? I said, well, about 30 minutes. And so I brought him inside. We panned them up, got everything laid out, and I had no idea he was going to be there. So now I'm scared and nervous as I don't know what. So I roll in there. We lay out everything, and these guys are eating. These are chefs, real chefs. I'm just a cook. They're eating. I walk around, look. Emeril said, what are you doing? I said, man, I'm looking to see if they like my ribs. He said, come here a minute. He's standing right here, trash can. True statement right here. He said, watch these plates when they bring them up here. That's what you mean. He said, there goes one, nothing on it. He said, they loved it. So now in the back, I'm back there washing dishes sometimes, and I see the plates, nothing on them. You know you've done something right when the plates are clean.
That's good.
And that is the truth. So
that's what a great story. So you have the win, of seeing a smile. You have the huge, the reward, the mountaintop. But owning any business, and particularly a restaurant business, I imagine has its challenges. Could you take us through take us through that side of it? What are some of the challenges?
The increasing prices each week. When you go to our food purveyors and you get in the computer system and you see the increase in beef or eggs or cheese or whatever, and then, and you got to stay in that line because you got to keep the customers coming in, and you can't pass it all off. So, you have to eat some of it to keep the customer there. So inflation, increased pricing, and most of all, staffing. because, we use a lot of high school kids, great kids, and they come in, we get them trained up, and they've been there 3 months. And then baseball season starts or football season starts, so they're gone. So the cycle starts all over. You got to bring in some more young kids. But the whole thing with that is when they leave us, we've taught them something to take on into the world to be a better person for the world. And that's another reward. Then you see these kids come back and eat with you after summers and stuff like that and hanging out, even call you sometimes. We had one that just left us a little while ago. He said, "Can I come to work? I'm off from my regular job tomorrow." He said, "No, I miss it." And he came back and helped us last Friday all day in there, man. So that makes you feel good.
It does. Well, and I mean, the hard is also what makes the good, I think, right? If everything was easy, you couldn't appreciate it. I remember I've told my kids, I was like, I think you should spend at least a little time working in a restaurant as a portion of your development, just because you learn people.
Exactly.
And you learn the value of that it didn't just arrive on your plate.
Exactly.
That something had to happen. A lot of things had to happen to get to that moment for you to enjoy that one thing that you take for granted or a customer takes for granted. And so all of the work that goes into a restaurant is it's so many behind the scenes moments. And yeah.
And what a lot of people see, we open every day at 4:30. We close at 9.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, they open the doors. They're here 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We open the door. Michelle and I are there at 7:30 to open the doors at 4:30 to serve you till 9:30. I mean, a lot of hours go in behind the scenes that no one sees. And there's another thing I want to share. Being North Carolina boy, Wayne County, Goldsboro, I got invited in 2014 to be on the barbecue pitmasters. This is special to me.
Yeah.
And Myron Mixon called me himself, asked me if I would like to be on the show. And it was a big deal. Destination America Network. And it was for North Carolina barbecue. So our local Cheshire Port supported me in that when we went there. And I was fortunate enough in 2014 to be crowned the North Carolina Barbecue Pitmaster for all of North Carolina.
Outstanding.
And from Goldsboro, that means a lot.
It does mean a lot. It does mean a lot.
Congratulations.
So thank you.
Do they give you like a heavyweight championship medal for that?
Right.
With a pig on it.
That's awesome. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you cook the best pig in Wayne County, then that's saying something.
Yeah.
In North Carolina, then that's saying something because people around here know how to do that.
They sure do.
So let's talk about local ingredients a little bit. And you just mentioned Cheshire pork. I know that that's on your menu, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Right.
Could you talk a little bit about how some of the local ingredients make it onto your menu, or what inspires you maybe about what? Take us through that a little bit.
All right. Well, it's a funny thing. Frank Howell, Howell Family Farms, sweet potato guy. He comes and eats with me at least twice a week. And we were just getting our sweet potatoes through food service. So we didn't know where they were coming from. And he came up to me one day. He said, "Man, you got a great steak." He said, "But your sweet potatoes are horrible." I said, "Wow." I said, "Really?" He said, "I'm not a sweet potato eater." So he said, "Yeah, you need to change sweet potatoes." I didn't think nothing about it. The next day I came in, there was 2 boxes of sweet potatoes sitting at my back door. So we used them. I didn't even put it in to what he had spoke to me about how this happened. Next week, same thing, 2 cases of sweet potatoes. Finally, a month went by. He said, "Man, your sweet potatoes are good." Then it hit me. I said, "You don't want to believe my sweet potatoes." He said, "Yeah, and they been charging me anything." I said, "Man, I got to pay you." Nope. He said, "We'll start next week." So he hands delivers my sweet potatoes to me every week.
That's outstanding.
So, and Mount Olive pickles. We didn't have Mount Olive pickles on our salad bar when we first opened. And I was telling Melissa a while ago, your customers will let you know that you ain't got a Mount Olive pickle.
They will, for sure.
I mean, really.
They're loyal.
Now Mount Olive pickles are on our salad bar. And Mr. Bobby with Mount Olive pickles, he's a Thursday night regular with me and his crowd. They come in. So they support us, we support them. So does Mr. Frank Howell. And then when the season's in strawberries, we use West Family Farms. Craig and I grew up together, and we use his product for us, strawberry cakes, strawberry pies, and all. So that's our local ingredients we use. And
that's awesome.
So.
Sport Sport Durst Volkswagen Mazda of Goldsboro is proud to support Wayne County Chamber of Commerce. Family owned and operated, Sport Durst knows the importance of keeping local money local and supporting the community. We put our customers first with the area's best pricing, best trade-in value, and best selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Come experience the Sport Durst difference, where customers and community come first.
Well, thank you. So you mentioned Mount Olive Pickles, and that's a great segue, I think. So, Melissa, maybe first tell us generally about Mount Olive, a little history of Mount Olive Pickle before maybe some specific questions about its contributions.
Sure.
So, yeah, give us a little background.
So Mount Olive Pickle Company was established in 1926. So we have a large birthday coming up in a few years. So we're already starting to plan how we're going to celebrate that. Basically, there was a Lebanese immigrant who was a businessman in Goldsboro that saw a bumper crop of cucumbers that year that was going to waste, and decided that he was going to start a company to brine these cucumbers and sell them to other established pickle companies, but he found he really didn't have much of a market for that. So he enlisted some local businessmen in Mount Olive to invest, and they started the Mount Olive Pickle Company, and these initial investors would go do their normal jobs and then eat with their families and go pour syrup out of coffee cans and pack the jars themselves. And that has, in the last nearly 100 years, grown to put Mount Olive as the best-selling brand of pickles, peppers, and relish in the entire country. So
Hold on.
Everywhere.
Say that one more time.
Mount Olive Pickle is the best-selling brand of pickles, peppers, and relish in the United States.
I mean,
Yep.
that's what it's like to be the champion.
It
You
is.
guys got a belt too.
Yeah, we do.
That's good. That's
Yep.
awesome.
That's
All right.
really the
Yeah.
top of the hill right there.
That
buddy.
is
is.
top of the hill. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
and talk
all
about
50 states.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
outstanding.
It is.
Yeah, and I think most people don't realize that,
They don't. No.
especially
most-
even people who live here don't realize that.
Right. And even, like, I don't consider Wilmington that far from Mount Olive. I very rarely heard anything. I mean, we always used Mount Olive pickles because that's what my grandma used. They were the closest to hers, and that was just the brand we always bought. But as far as the history, even growing up that close to Mount Olive, it wasn't widely known just how rich that history was and what an asset it is to have in Eastern North Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about how does it contribute to the local scene? So as big as the company is, because it is a major, manufacturing company now.
It is.
How does it impact Wayne County? Not the economic impact, but the food impact. How does it contribute?
Well, like Mr. Carl said, we've got local businesses and establishments that use Mount Olive products, like your salad bar. R&R Brewing, Ryan Roberts uses our kosher dill spears with sea salt in his Pickletown lager. I don't know what he does with them. It's some kind of beer magic, but he takes them
Nice.
and turns them into that delicious Pickletown lager. We have
Is that like drinking pickle juice?
it has a tinge, yes.
Yeah.
But it's very refreshing on a hot day to get a cold Pickletown lager. It's
Go
good
figure.
stuff. Yes. So
People are buying it.
they are.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
that's amazing.
So we have other, like Scully's Food Truck. They use our peppers, our banana peppers, jalapenos. Kat mentioned to me that they use all Mount Olive products when they cater on their charcuterie boards. Ribeyes in Mount Olive also uses our products. And I was very excited to see this, that we are going to have a Five Guys coming soon. I'll be broke.
Yeah, I will be. Yeah. Look at me.
So
Are
it's
you
one of my
serious? I'm
favorites.
Five Guys target audience.
But we are also the pickle of Five Guys
Really?
burgers and fries.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
Yep. So they're one of the only things that we export outside the U.S. is to ship pickles to Five Guys all
So-
over the world.
Oh, I see. So I was just thinking you're shipping out of the country for Five Guys.
For Five
but Five
Guys.
Guys, you mean
Yes,
because their franchises
because
are
they're
all over the, I
franchised
got you.
internationally. Yes,
I'm
so.
tracking. So how much of what you procure comes from Wayne County as far as in the production side?
Well, we get about 300 million pounds of cucumbers and peppers annually. A third of that comes from North Carolina, and about 500,000 bushels of cucumbers and peppers come from here in Wayne County.
Nice. So where do they come from? I mean,
There are different farms that we get them from grading stations. So we don't get them directly from the farm, but we work with the growers.
Right.
So we have a team of crop scientists that will work with the contract growers through these grading stations and help them with land use and development, seed development, to try to get the best product for what we use it for. And I was surprised when talking to our procurement team that when they go to order cucumbers, they order pickles. So you've got your pickles, which are the cucumbers that are made for packing, and then cucumbers for salad bars and to be sold just to the grocery store like a cucumber you'd use in a salad. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that sounds real smart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Science and
Right?
stuff. Right. Well, that's good.
Yes.
So today, Mount Olive Pickles is producing how many pickle products a year?
Well, we ship about 240 million jars, but we have hundreds of different varieties that we're packing on 13 production lines.
And you have some. This is.
I do.
Can you explain maybe a couple of these?
Certainly. So this is our newest line. It's Mount Olive Majestic Picklery.
Majestic
Majestic.
Picklery.
Yes. So these,
I want a T-shirt that says that.
Yes. Talk to me. I'll see what I can do.
Really? Shut your mouth.
I love the label.
Yeah, the label.
They're
So
beautiful.
the idea is that if you go into a grocery store, you can reach any shelf on the pickle aisle and pull out a product that's Mount Olive. So we have our traditional line of products that we have been packing basically since 1926. But if you're in the food scene, you probably are familiar with like the craft pickles and small batch. And so this is kind of our version of top shelf premium pickles. So
That's what's
you
up.
can see all of all the garlic and celery seed and all the fresh ingredients that we use in our Majestic lines.
Yeah, beautifully done.
Yes.
When did you guys start doing that?
These were just released earlier this year.
Okay, so this is fresh.
Yeah, so these are brand new. You can find them at Food Lion locally. Harris Teeter, I believe, also has them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're just
What made them call it the barbecue? Because of the way barbecue's grown now?
well, these actually have a barbecue flavor. So there's like I never imagined that you could eat a pickle that tasted like pork, but it tastes like smoky barbecue.
That's pretty unique then.
It's very special.
I might
And
eat
then-
those then.
Yeah, so you can take those home with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got our,
My favorite.
let's see, these are the bread and butter banana pepper rings. Yep. So we've got a variety. We also do a jalapeno product. And then for our spicy fans, we've got the hot sauce kosher baby dills. And you can see the fresh dill in there. So just something a little elevated, a little more special.
That's outstanding.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for sharing that. So
absolutely.
I don't think it gets any bigger than Mount Olive Pickle, as far as our ag sector goes in Wayne County. You guys are likely at the top of the heap in terms of size, economic impact, and all those things. I'm interested now, Christal, to talk to you because with the farmers markets, you deal with a very different size of folks and a different collection of folks. So maybe let's start with explaining what is a farmer's market. Like, I don't know if people they hear those words and that maybe they think a thing, but what is it? What is a farmer's market?
So a farmer's market is going to be a collection of farmers, small or big. They'll bring whatever products they have in season. They display it in a fashion that's almost like similar to a grocery store. And, you also have a scene of sometimes you have some food vendors who are using some of these local products and they're at the farmer's market selling. So a farmer's market is really just a collection of individuals who have a product they want to sell. It's an ag-related product. So you've got goat milk soap, you've got your fresh produce, obviously. You have many different ag-related products. And so it's a great way to bring awareness to your local hometown of, hey, instead of going to your local grocery store, let's take and buy some strawberries at the farmer's market this season. That's, because at the grocery store, you can buy a large selection of produce all year, but your produce is going to taste best when it is grown in its natural growing months. So a farmer's market is just a way to show appreciation for the season of growing. It's a way to show appreciation to your local farmers, and it keeps your local economy running.
Yeah, and I guess are there farmers markets in every county? How does that work?
So it's growing. It's a growing industry. Wayne County only recently got their farmers market 6 years ago. And before that, everybody was accustomed to going to the Raleigh's farmers market. But as we have grown, Mount Olive just got approved to have a farmers market. There's a farmers market in New Bern. You've got a smaller farmers market in Kinston. You've got a farmers market in Pitt County. So it depends on really where you're from, I think. And North Carolina is a more rural state as far as we have a lot of farmland. And so you have more options. But if you were to go to a more populated area like Charlotte, you might have a smaller selection, or you might just be used to a farm stand. And so that needs to be addressed as far as a farm stand and a farmer's market differs, because a lot of times those side of the road fruit stands are buying wholesale, and your wholesale produce is coming out of Florida, California, maybe even out of the United States at times. So with a farmer's market, you really want to focus on, from a perspective of a manager, you want to focus on bringing in local. You don't want to bring in anybody that can go into a wholesale line and buy produce that you really don't know where it came from, when it was picked, whatnot. So that would be the biggest thing.
I got you. So if you don't mind, share some insights into the diverse, like the products, the range of products, the things that are raised locally, and maybe how that contributes to the richness of the community restaurants. You know, I would think probably independents, but I could be wrong. But even to our own home cooked meals,
Yeah, and so it wouldn't be a stretch to say that you can find a little bit of everything in Wayne County. You've got your corns, you've got snap beans, you've got figs, peaches. There's such a diverse plethora of produce. And not only is there like strawberries, there's actually several varieties of strawberries. So in Wayne County, you're going to see them grow Jewels or Chandlers or Ruby Junes are popular. So that brings a diverseness to Wayne County where you have sweet corn, but there's so many varieties of sweet corn. And it adds richness to our restaurants because it gives the customers an option or a variety and a uniqueness to each dish, because you're going to eat a seasonal produce in May that it's going to change in September. So it helps the restaurant stay unique. It again shows that appreciation for eating with the seasons, because those dishes are going to taste so fresh and so good. So that would be, I think, where Wayne County offers a lot of variety for their produce and even their meats, because you can get into anything from beef, pork, chicken, all the way to goat and lamb.
That's impressive. That's a lot of stuff there.
And the list goes on.
I had no idea. I would love to sit and just talk about that, because my brain has never even thought about that.
Right.
I've never even thought about the fact that there's different strawberries and they're different between May and August.
Right. Well, your strawberry season is going to run from early mid-April to June if it's a good crop.
Okay.
And then it's over. And so then you don't have strawberries, and you will, if you get accustomed to eating them at the farmer's market in those months, you'll go to the store and cry when you get them in December because they are not the same.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah,
That is so true.
Yeah.
But and I mean, even watermelons, you've got seedless watermelons, you've got seeded, you've got canary, which are the yellow watermelons. So in even being the market manager for the last year now, I didn't realize either how many varieties of just one thing there is.
And is that different depending on where it's grown in Wayne County, or is it, in other words, is certain ground different, or like take that, how does it get diversified? Is it because of the ground? Is it because of the seed? What is it?
Well, first you have different seed options. So you're going to begin with your seed. So you would buy a Ruby June strawberry seed and plant it. But then it also is the love that's going into it. So right now we have a big strawberry farmer, the Britt's Farms, and Mr. Vernon Britt is actually every single night right now, he's going outside. He has a huge cast iron kettle and he boils water and he melts his fertilizer down and then he trickles that into their drip lines. So yes, you do start with your seed variety, but it's also how you care for that seed, how it's grown, what are you putting into that seed that makes a difference.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. So the future of locally produced food in Wayne County, that's a very difficult, everybody talks about it, but it's very difficult Wayne County can't produce enough to cover all of the ground that's needed for all of the food that's provided. But
Right.
Can you talk to me about the future of locally produced food in Wayne County?
Well, I think the future is bright. You know, we're blessed to have good soils. We have a long growing season. We have a pretty temperate climate. So the future is bright, and it helps now that we have a farmer's market because profitability. So, you know, farmers struggle selling, especially your smaller farmers, they're going to struggle on offloading that cost and selling their product, especially when they're on a larger scale. And so the future is bright. We have an outlet for them to go to. But I think that when we talk about the future of agriculture and Wayne County especially, we need to talk about some of the struggles we face. So, you know, land loss is a big one. And in 1950 to 2022, we have lost 142,000 acres of farmland. And so that brings up a question of, if that trend continues, what does that look like for our food supply in our local Wayne County? You know, it's an economic driver. Agriculture is our number one economic profitability in Wayne County.
$1.3 billion
Correct.
of annual economic impact.
So if we keep diminishing, you know, and we go back to prices as well. So not only are we struggling with land loss, but then you struggle with prices. Prices are constantly increasing for your farmer, their fuel, their equipment, the seedlings themselves are increasing. So, you know, it begs the question of, how do we make a difference so that our food supply stays stable and affordable for all of us from beginning to end? Because, you know, the farmers start with their equipment and their pricing for their buying it, and then you as a consumer, you have to be able to afford to purchase that and eat it.
So I think that's a great way to open this conversation up to all of you. You're here because you represent different parts of the food chain, if you will. I want you to tell me a little bit from your own perspective. I want us to talk about farmers and the farming community itself. I mean, what is that? How do you feel about it? What does it mean to you from where you sit? Maybe I'll just ask that. Whoever wants to go.
Well,
Go ahead.
How do I feel about farmers?
Yeah, let's start with how do you feel and how does it impact?
I feel that we need to advocate for them because, you know, I think agriculture, we're getting further away from what does that mean? Where does our food come from? The clothes we wear, having a roof over our head, that all begins with agriculture, with farmers. So I feel very passionate for them. I feel strongly that they need some advocation. We need awareness. We need knowledge. You know, social media is such a great tool because although it's not always accurate, it brings up conversation. It brings up questions. How is my food produced? Where does it come from? And so that's where your farmers come in. If you don't have farmers, there is no survival.
That's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and what about you guys? I mean, I know that each of you in different ways, you sense it, you live around it, you feel it, you benefit from it.
Well, I've got with the restaurant, a lot of my customers are farmers, and from big to small, and they're all in there, and they're always talking about inflation, cost of chemicals. Just like Christal said about Mr. Britt out there, I mean, he's putting in a lot of time
Yes.
to make those strawberries great. And I don't think the general public knows what goes into farming.
Not at
A
all.
lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights. 'Cause
Long
you're worrying about
days.
the weather. Yeah, your days, your hours. It's tough on their families because they're away from each other so much because they're
Right.
always in the field working. But what I hear from them is the loss of land constantly. And like Christal said, it is an alarming rate of how we're losing that land. And if we keep losing land and we keep losing the opportunity to grow our food, it don't just come out of a store.
Right.
There's a lot of work goes into it to get it to us to be able to put it on our table. And like she said, the farmer's market out there, I go through there all the time because I like fresh stuff. And it's a total different world. In-season strawberries, and then when you walk into the store, that was a great thing. They're just not, there's no flavor there.
No flavor.
So,
It looks like a strawberry, but it doesn't taste
exactly.
like one.
Yeah, so, I mean, I love the farmer because they support me and I support them.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
Yeah, and I think that would be the same for us. Our company wouldn't be here without farmers, and especially farmers in this area. And my grandparents were farmers. I saw those struggles. There are so many things in farming that are outside of your control. Pricing, just the environment, the weather. Like, you can do everything in your power, and the weather can affect your entire crop, and you're
In a
done
heartbeat.
for the season. That's it. So we definitely have to support our farmers, because there are fewer people taking on the responsibility of feeding more and more people every day.
Yeah, the demand hasn't really changed much, has it? I mean, but the supply seems to be, if nothing else, consolidating,
Right.
which also means it could be geographically consolidated. You know, in a macro sense, I guess I think when people think about farms, they always think about somebody in overalls and a pitchfork, you know, and they think about something that's from the past. And I think that is exactly the wrong picture.
Absolutely.
Because the reality is, number one, farming is a much more sophisticated business than that. And a much more, there's a lot of science, there's a lot of engineering, there is a lot of like skilled things that have to occur. It's not just, I wake up and I plow a field, or I wake up and I, raise a cow or whatever, or feed a cow or feed chickens. There's just quite a bit more to this whole thing. And in people's minds, I think they see it as the past. And I think you got to see it as the future, because if food is in your future, then farms are in our future.
Right.
Right. And there's not a person sitting at this table that would be employed if it weren't for, including myself, if it weren't for farms.
Yeah.
And, and isn't that unique about Wayne County? I mean, like Wayne County itself, let's talk about that just a second, because I feel like if I can't go everywhere in the country, in the United States or the world, and experience what I can experience in Wayne County. Is that fair?
That is
Absolutely.
very fair. Yep.
Right. So from end to end. So talk to me about that. I mean, what all do we see, here that you can't see everywhere?
I think Wayne County is unique because we have so many large distributors. You've got Mount Olive Pickle, you've got Nahana Pork Center, you've got Franklin Bread Company, Case or Sanderson Farms with chickens, Butterball turkeys. How many of us eat that at Thanksgiving?
Alta Foods.
Foods. I mean, the list could really go on.
Yeah.
That's just a few of them. We have such a variety of distributors of agriculture here. And not only do they service Wayne County, but a lot of these are nationwide. So Wayne County is special in the sense that we really are a food hub. We are where you begin. These other places are purchasing from Wayne County distributors. So I think that's what makes us unique. And then also just the fact that we do have farmland here. There's so many other places that have already lost that. There's huge mega cities that do not have any greenery anywhere. So Wayne County is special because we do hold the farmers at heart. We do care about the land. We care about land loss. We advocate for that a lot. We talk about anything that comes up. I know the commissioners are on top of solar facilities and just things that could take away from that. We are unique that we care. A lot of the people you went to school with, their daddies farmed. They farmed with their daddies in the summers. So I think that's important, is we have that unique awareness of agriculture that some people, personally growing up in that Florida beach town, I didn't have that awareness. None of my friends farmed. None of my families farmed. So that's where Wayne County is special. And that's something that not a lot of places offer anymore.
I agree.
That's true. I think we're lucky in Wayne County too. Like Christal said, we've got such a variety of things at our fingertips. Like you think about farm to table as this trend or a concept, and in a lot of big cities, a whole restaurant could be based farm to table, but we truly can start from the farm and have it on the table in a day or two. Like
everybody can say that.
Everybody can't do that.
That's right.
And Christal made a good point. The granddads were farmers, then the dad became the farmer, and now the son. And I know that from Mr. Danny Carnegie, big farmer, Frank Howell, Craig West, which took it from his daddy, Jerry West. And then their sons have gone on to NC State College. So it's turned into the science that you were talking about, because they got to know when to put these chemicals out and how it controls the weeds and how it helps the crop grow to materialize, to get it to the farmer's market for us to go consumers to go buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I get the sense. I mean, and you guys have hit on this. It is not just the fact that it's a part of our economy; it's part of our culture, and it's not just a heritage culture; it's part of our current culture.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and so we, Chamber of Commerce, you know, we want to see growth. We want to see development and economic development. Absolutely, right? But there has to be some balance, right? There has to be some balance between who we are, what we've been, and what we still need to continue to be if we want to maintain the integrity of food, and growth. Because if those farms go away, what? Let's talk about that. What happens if in the next 10 years we start losing at an even more significant pace? If we lose another 100,000 acres of farmland, what happens?
Well, prices increase exponentially. If you can't get it close to you, you're going to have to pay. The cucumbers we get from Wayne County, even within the state, cost us less than when we have to export them from somewhere else, another state.
Right.
So that cost to the manufacturer is going to trickle down to the consumer, and the average person won't be able to go enjoy
And the
a
thing about
steak.
it, the consumer don't really know that.
No.
Why is everything going up? You know,
Right.
you walk in there and see that, and then they
Right.
don't start laying blame.
Right.
Because they don't know. They're not
That those-
educated on what happens.
Yes, those rate increases are going to hit everyone.
Yes.
And then you might be eating things that you're not accustomed to eating. So me and Melissa recently just went through a Carl Best program. And in there, we discussed the fact that they're going to start growing mealworms to supplement feed for humans because they're cheap to grow. They're easy to grow on a large scale. You can just have a building with different layers of pans of mealworms that are, you know, not ideal when you think about it. But if you're losing a way to actually produce produce and, you know, you don't have land for your livestock, that's your next option is growing bugs because they're easy to grow. They're affordable. They're so, and you know, how many of us want to eat bugs? I don't, but
No,
that is a
thank you.
reality if we don't start thinking about where our food comes from and the importance of our farmers. And I also want to touch on the fact that, you know, we talk about grocery stores and the farmers. There's the people who supply the grocery stores are also farmers. They still do it on a bigger scale, but you know, we could lose them too. It could easily go away just as much as the small town farmers.
Totally. It's across the board.
Absolutely.
I also think it's a national security issue that people
Yes.
really don't think about. Like, you imagine that we are food insecure all of a sudden in the United States. If we're not able to produce, so like right now, if you can't produce your own oil, you have to buy it from a place that may be a place of conflict. It may be a place that you have to pay a much heavier price than just money to achieve or to get. Food is an altogether different deal. You have to have it.
Right.
And if it's not produced, or if it's produced at a much less rate and much less degree, and all of a sudden we become dependent on it from somebody else because it's now consolidated not in our hometowns and not in our counties, but in somebody else's towns and somebody else's counties, maybe not even in the United States. Now we have to buy it from them. They also control the source of it. They also control the regulations of it. You know, You see what I mean? Like to me, it's a bigger issue than just how much it costs us, even though that's true, but it is a huge threat to our future.
That gets real scary thinking about
really
it that
does.
way. You know?
Right.
If you lose that control, then the health and safety of everyone in America is at risk if we don't have any control over where our food is coming from.
Well, and what a great weapon to use against us. You know, if we're not producing in America, what a great way to essentially starve us into doing whatever they want. If we're talking about a political scheme, then that's leverage for other countries.
Which is why I say food is our future.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, food is more than just because you're always going to have to eat. Every generation ahead of us is going to have to eat. And so this idea that you can keep degrading the ability to produce your own food is a huge threat to our future. And so I just think that Wayne County, if that's the case, then Wayne County is positioned so well. We just have to protect it.
Right.
You know, we have to all together, fight for that future that we want. Right. And we want to be able to go to Carl and Chelle's and eat on a Thursday and just hang out and know that the food came from a good place, cooked by somebody we know. We shouldn't take that for granted, that we can go to a farmer's market on a Saturday morning and get locally grown produce. Those things happen. Mount Olive Pickles, in a new jar that I can get at my grocery store from, I know Melissa. We take that for granted, but we should not.
No.
Agriculture to me is the heartbeat of Wayne County and the USA. I believe that. I do. I mean, it was a couple of weeks ago, the phones got shut down. AT&T went down and everybody freaked.
Yes.
That's minute to when we can't get our food.
Right.
Very minute.
Imagine a week where you couldn't get food.
Yeah.
Imagine 1 week in your life where you would not be able to have or get access to food. This would be a very different place.
And unfortunately, that is happening around the world.
Yeah.
So, think of that from my family standpoint. I'm okay with starving, but do I want my children to starve? Do I want to see my children cry because they're hungry at night? No, absolutely not.
No.
And I think the general public should go to the farmer's market and see these people that are displaying their produce and everything that they have out there and talk to them. I mean, just ask questions.
And they love that.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's what they want.
They're an open
Then
book.
you learn. So
That is
Absolutely.
And if there was one thing from your perspective that you wish people knew about food and the food industry and agriculture and the agriculture sector as a whole, it would be what?
I think that this is a conversation for everyone. It's not just a conversation for people in food manufacturing or farming. If you eat, this is important to you. And you should educate yourself on what's going on and not be complacent and just think, oh, well, someone else will sort this out. I don't have to worry about it. The grocery store's still stocked. I can go get whatever I want. It'll be fine. Like, it won't be fine.
it will not.
It's a very serious thing that people need to know about.
I think that we have a disconnected knowledge. So a lot of times now, agriculture is an ugly word to some people because it's annoyance. It's a polluter. You hear all the time, agriculture pollutes the earth. So I think that we need to have a knowledge of what is agriculture really. What if you have a question of how is it polluting or how are your hog farmers helping with their ponds, you need to ask questions and get some real knowledge before just getting on a bandwagon of, oh, it pollutes everything or it's annoyance or it smells. You need to ask questions and have that knowledge introduced at an early age. You need children to understand. There's some people that don't even realize pickles come from cucumbers. They think that a pickle is a pickle.
I can attest to that every day.
Right.
So hear from someone who doesn't
knowledge.
get that.
We need knowledge on agriculture.
A lot of people think it's just going to always be there.
Right.
And we have seen it diminish. And it's just going to continue to go down. Knowledge is key. I agree with Christal.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time, for what you do from each of your different seats, and what you contribute to our community and to this conversation.
Well, I want to thank you. I mean, you guys do a lot for Wayne County too, in supporting each and every one of us. Our county commissioners do a lot for the agriculture.
Yes, they
and
do.
I think they need a hand in that too.
They do. Our state legislators, I mean,
Steve Troxler, I think he's a great guy. I mean, I've been around him many, many times. I like Steve, and he is good for agriculture.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
That's good. Well, thank you all.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.